Are you feeling the squeeze lately? I mean, inflation, market jitters, job uncertainty. It really feels like the world is constantly throwing financial curveballs, doesn't it?
It really does.
Mm.
And that constant pressure, it's exhausting.
Yeah, trying to manage things that feel, well, unmanageable.
Exactly. These modern economic pressures take a heavy toll on our mental well-being, often because we feel like we should be able to control things that are just fundamentally outside our influence.
Like what? Global markets?
Yeah, global market forces, geopolitical stuff, even the exact inflation rate next quarter.
Yeah.
You know, so today we're doing a deep dive into maybe an unusual place to look for answers.
Okay.
Ancient Stoic wisdom, looking at it as a source for modern financial resilience.
Stoicism. Okay, that's interesting. So we looked into a whole stack of material, exploring how people are actually using Stoicism today, not just as, like, philosophy homework.
Right, not academic at all. More like a practical framework, a really robust one for navigating today's, let's face it, high volatility economic landscape.
Okay, so our mission here is to basically pull out the usable toolkit from Stoicism, the stuff that can genuinely give you resilience and maybe even more critical, some inner peace when things feel financially chaotic.
Yeah, this isn't just theory. It's about how you operate day to day. And we promise by the end of this deep dive, you'll have a clearer way to see what you can control versus what you absolutely can't.
And knowing that difference can actually help.
Massively. How that mental shift can turn setbacks, which feel like catastrophes, into actual opportunities for growth. It sounds a bit cliche, maybe, but it's true.
All right, let's unpack this. We kind of have to start with the big one, the absolute anchor of Stoic thinking, right? This dichotomy of control.
That's the starting line, definitely. The dichotomy of control. It's basically the practice of sorting everything in the universe into two buckets.
Two buckets, okay, yeah. Bucket one, things entirely within your power. Think your judgments, your intentions, your efforts. Bucket two, everything else. Stuff that frankly doesn't care what you wish would happen.
Right.
And the anxiety comes when we mix those up, especially with money.
Precisely. That's where so much financial anxiety stems from. We blend these two buckets completely. We worry about, say, the stock market's performance with the same energy we should be putting into our own actions.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So applying this directly to our financial lives, what kind of things fall squarely into that first bucket, the controllable one?
So the controllable stuff lines up really well with those classic Stoic virtues. We're talking about building financial discipline, consistent saving habits.
Things I actually do.
Exactly. Continually upskilling, learning new things to improve your earning potential, making responsible choices about debt. The sources we look at really stress how these actions connect to virtues like prudence, good judgment, and temperance, moderation.
Ah.
These are choices reflecting your internal effort, your character.
Yeah.
And because of that, they are like 100% within your power.
Okay, so that's the my lane. What about the other bucket, the big, scary external one we're supposed to just ignore?
Well, not ignore entirely, but accept we can't control it.
Yeah.
That bucket holds all the things that keep people staring at the ceiling at 3 a.m.
Ah.
But that personal worry can't change one bit.
Like?
External market forces, definitely. Interest rate decisions by the central bank, global supply chain issues, even, say, the hiring plans of a competitor company.
Right, things totally outside my sphere. And the Stoic insight here is really powerful. Every single minute you spend stressing about those external things, that's a minute of mental energy stolen from perfecting the actions you can control. Okay, now that's where it gets really interesting for, practical application today. Because it's not just don't worry, be happy. It's almost like an optimization strategy. You're saying the peace I get from letting go of anxiety about, I don't know, inflation numbers. That same energy gets redirected back into my savings rate or developing a new skill.
Precisely.
Yeah.
When you truly accept market volatility is just
Yeah.
a fact of life, like the weather, you free up so much emotional and intellectual bandwidth.
Okay.
You stop trying to micromanage the entire economy from your living room.
Yeah.
And instead, you focus on maximizing your personal effort, your discipline. And that's where genuine long-term financial stability actually comes from. It's a huge shift.
From outcomes to internal discipline. Got it.
Yeah, focusing on your inputs, not just the outputs you can't fully determine.
But okay, focusing just on effort feels incomplete maybe, especially when bad stuff does happen, like real losses. How do we handle how our brain processes those setbacks? So that brings us to the power of perspective, right? If your investments tank, how do you stop that from feeling like some kind of massive personal failure?
Yeah, and the Stoics had a really famous, though maybe counterintuitive, tool for this exact problem. Right. Negative visualization. Negative visualization. Okay, that sounds unpleasant. Why
Yeah.
would I actively think about losing everything? That just sounds depressing.
Yeah, that's the usual first reaction.
Yeah.
And it does sound exhausting, maybe even like you're inviting bad luck or something.
Right. How do we stop this mental exercise, imagining losing your job or a big chunk of savings? How does that not just become this self-fulfilling cycle of dread?
That's the crucial difference the sources really clarify. The goal isn't to dwell on the awful feeling of the loss. The goal is to mentally rehearse your response to it.
Ah, okay. So it's practice.
It's practicing a controlled, rational reaction now while you're actually safe and thinking clearly. So if I visualize, say, losing a major client, the Stoic response isn't panic.
It's immediately outlining the, say, 3 concrete steps I would take next. Update the resume, reach out to 2 specific contacts, cut discretionary spending by X%. You plan the actions.
Ah, okay. So it's not about wallowing in doom. It's like a pre-mortem for your emotional stability and your contingency plan.
Mhm.
You prepare the plan, not the feeling of defeat. That makes sense. That's resilience building.
Exactly. And there's an immediate psychological bonus, too. When you spend just 5 minutes visualizing the, yes, unpleasant reality of a potential financial storm,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly your current situation, maybe your current savings account, even if it's modest, starts to look like relative abundance.
Oh,
It shifts you psychologically from a state of always wanting more, always feeling behind, to a state of appreciating what you do have.
yeah.
Internal gratitude.
That reframing feels really important, especially today, because modern consumer culture thrives on that scarcity mindset, right? The idea that you always need more, you're always falling behind someone else. We get bombarded with reasons to feel like we're lacking.
Absolutely. And a Stoic perspective is a direct counterpunch to that pressure. You actively shift the narrative around financial setbacks. You stop seeing a market downturn as some kind of catastrophic personal failure.
And instead,
You reframe it as, well, just data, raw data, an opportunity maybe for learning, for growth. What did that dip teach me about my actual risk tolerance? What skill maybe should I have focused on learning last year? It forces your mind back towards internal improvement, not just external results you can't control.
it's like an active mental workout to handle the psychological hit from volatility. Okay, but let's make this really concrete. We've talked internal control, perspective shifts. But how does this ancient wisdom actually translate into, practical steps, things related to our bank accounts? How do we build this Stoic financial fortress? Right, this is where the philosophy meets the pavement, so to speak. The sources we looked at clearly connect practical financial security steps with this Stoic preparation mindset. Let's take the most basic piece of financial advice out there. Build an emergency fund. Okay, the rainy day fund. Everyone says you need one.
Yes, but viewed through a Stoic lens, it's more than just good advice. It perfectly embodies this concept of anticipating hardship.
You mean that premeditation of evils thing? Premeditatio malorum. Sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it sounds intense, yeah, but the application is deeply practical. How does that Latin phrase map onto a modern emergency fund? Well, the emergency fund isn't just passive insurance against bad luck hitting you.
It's more active.
It's an active, rational acknowledgement that bad things are there. A job loss, a surprise medical bill, the car suddenly needing a massive repair, that these things will likely happen at some point.
Yeah.
It's not pessimism, it's realism.
Okay.
The Stoic virtue being practiced here is preparedness. By deliberately setting aside those 3 to 6 months of living expenses, you've already accepted the likelihood of a setback. And by doing the controllable work of saving, you've drastically reduced its emotional and practical impact when it does happen.
So the peace of mind doesn't just come from having the money squirreled away. It comes from knowing you took the necessary disciplined action in advance. That makes sense. And this premeditatio malorum, this preparing for trouble, it probably applies beyond just cash savings, doesn't it? Like professionally.
Oh, absolutely. Great point. In a career context, it could mean always keeping your professional network warm, not just calling people when you need something.
Right. Or keeping skills updated.
Exactly. Continually learning new software relevant to your field. Or maybe even having a side hustle or a secondary income stream ready to ramp up if needed. You're preparing for the evil of, say, professional redundancy or a tough job market.
Not because you expect to be fired tomorrow.
No, not at all. But because you accept that the global job market, your company's future, these are largely uncontrollable variables. You prepare for possibilities.
Okay, that feels much deeper than just opening a high-yield savings account. It's about building this comprehensive, multi-layered resilience. But what about those moments of just pure external chaos when the entire stock market seems to lose its mind and drops 20% in a win? panic selling starts. What does Stoicism say about accepting that kind of market? Well, tragedy. Yeah, for those moments, those gut-wrenching external shocks, we turn to maybe the ultimate Stoic tool of acceptance, amor fati. Amor fati, love of fate, love of what happens.
That's the one. In finance, amor fati translates to this radical acceptance of external volatility. It's embracing the chaos in a way.
Okay, hold on. How do you love the fact that your retirement account just evaporated by 6 figures? That seems psychologically impossible to truly embrace. It's maybe not love in the sense of enjoyment. It means loving the reality of the system you're participating in. The sources suggest thinking about it this way. If you invest in, say, broad market index funds, you're essentially buying a piece of the entire messy, chaotic sum of human economic activity, global events, everything. Okay.
You cannot control whether some CEO makes a terrible decision, or if a war breaks out overseas, or if there's a natural disaster. Those things will impact the market. Accepting amor fati here means realizing that these fluctuations, these booms and busts, they are inherent to the game itself. They aren't bugs. They're features of the system.
So accepting that reality means what in terms of action?
It means you maintain your disciplined personal actions, like sticking rigorously to your predetermined investment schedule, maybe monthly contributions, regardless of the scary headlines or the market's wild swings.
Ah, so the investor who panics and sells everything during a big dip is essentially violating amor fati because they're fighting reality.
Exactly. They're wishing the market wasn't volatile, which it inherently is.
While the disciplined investor who keeps automatically investing even when it feels terrifying is embodying it, they're accepting the nature of the market.
That's the perfect synthesis. You accept the external volatility you love, the market for being the complex, unpredictable thing that it is, while maintaining absolute firm control over your internal reaction and your preset controllable actions like your saving and investment rates.
Yeah.
Your freedom, your peace, is found in understanding the limit of your power.
Wow. Okay. This deep dive has really shown that Stoicism isn't just ancient history. It offers this clear, surprisingly rational path for dealing with modern financial stress. So just to summarize the practical toolkit we've pulled out from the sources, first, really get clear on that dichotomy of control.
Clearly separate your controllable actions, discipline, saving, upskilling, all linked to that idea of prudence or wisdom for the external chaos you can't influence, like market forces.
Again, actively use those perspective tools, specifically that counterintuitive negative visualization technique, not to dwell, but for mental rehearsal and planning.
Right. And using gratitude as an antidote to that constant consumer pressure, the scarcity mindset, focusing on what you have.
And third, translate those mindsets into tangible action, using things like an emergency fund as your practical premeditation of evils, preparing for setbacks.
Exactly. And finally, embracing amor fati, that love of what happens, specifically to help you stay disciplined and accepting during inevitable market turbulence. Don't fight the waves, control your ship.
Yeah. The source material really makes it clear. Stoicism offers this practical route to a more lasting kind of economic peace. And it's accessible regardless of what the markets are doing right now. It's like an intellectual shield against the noise and volatility.
And importantly, it's a practice. It's not like you read about it once and you're suddenly Seneca, right? The material really encourages just implementing one principle. Start somewhere today. Okay, so building on that, we want to leave you with this final provocative thought to maybe kickstart your own practice. Given that all those external market forces are fundamentally uncontrollable, what is the single most essential, maybe difficult to maintain, controllable action related to your saving, your spending, your financial discipline that you can commit to starting or strengthening right now? What's that one thing in your power that would build your financial resilience the most?
Focus your energy there and just try to let the rest go.